I'm India Pollock, social affairs correspondent at BBC Wales, and I'm here at Cardiff University's Brain and Genomics Hub to find out more about a groundbreaking study to improve the diagnoses and treatment of those with serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and psychosis.
I've been detained under the Mental Health Act 9 times. I've spent long periods in hospital. I've been in 6 psychiatric units and I've been in 3 psychiatric intensive care units, all of them twice. The detentions have always been related to me being manic or psychotic. It's usually quite religious and spiritual focused. I think I'm on a divine mission from God. I noticed lots of coincidences. I experienced delusions. I've had all sorts of very bizarre delusions that you completely believe at the time. They're so compelling. Nothing anyone could say could possibly dissuade you. That's how, strong delusions can be. And then my mania lasts 4 months, almost clockwork. And then the depression that follows always lasts 4 months.
Carina has lived with bipolar disorder for 18 years and also has PTSD and ADHD. She's here at Cardiff University taking part in a new study, a study that aims to improve the lives for people with serious mental illness.
It does traumatise you being detained, but it's been done very humanely at times, not always with me. And if they're kind and humane and considerate about it, it causes you a lot less stress and a lot less trauma. And I believe the depressive episode that always follows is more mild.
And when you say humanely, what helps? What's really useful in those times for you?
People saying to you, what's happening currently is you're not very well. So we're going to take you into hospital for a while. We're not going to hurt you. With delusions, I think you're better off humouring them, say, yes, you are Jesus, now come on into hospital, rather than saying you're not, because I think that'd make me a lot worse. I think, they're in a conspiracy because they don't believe this delusion. So probably going along with it for the time being until they get you in, and then, they give you medications that help the delusions and the hallucinations go away.
And what doesn't work? What makes that experience more stressful?
When people haven't told me what on earth's going, so I've just been taken, I think, well, if you already think you're like maybe Jesus or somebody very important, it almost enforces it, because you think, well, because I've had the fire brigade, the police, an ambulance all come at once, and think, well, I must be a very important person. They've sent 3 emergency services and 10 people to come and get me, so that's not helpful. They'd have been better off sending maybe 2 people, a nurse and a doctor, to say, Carina, you really aren't well, we want to help you, we're not going to hurt you, come with us, pack a nice bag of clothes, you'll be okay. That would really help, but it hasn't always happened.
Carina received her bipolar diagnosis fairly swiftly because there was known family history. But that's not always the case. In Wales, people can wait up to 12 years for a diagnosis and up to 9 years in England. Carina says the medication she takes does help the psychosis, but that it has terrible side effects. There have been no truly new treatments for serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and psychosis, since antipsychotics and lithium were introduced more than 50 years ago.
So this is the tissue culture room where we grow the stem cells and look after stem cells.
It's here at Cardiff University's Brain and Genomics Hub where the study will take place, and academics, such as research fellow Dr Sophie Legge, are describing it as a world first.
So the types of data we're looking at are social and demographic information, so things like people's education, people's childhoods, whether people might have used drugs in the past, and the medications people are taking, because we know that has an impact on people's physical health. We marry that up then with the symptoms that people have experienced over their lifetime. And we put this together with memory and concentration tasks, and we marry that with biological data. So, for example, genomics, and we're looking at next generation sequencing, so at trying to identify new genomic variants that haven't been identified before, and things related to the brain, so brain structure via an MRI scan and brain activity by a MEG scan. And it's hoping by bringing all these different data types together and looking at symptoms rather than diagnosis that we can bring change forward.
Data will be collected from 600 participants, and the information will be anonymised and entered into a database, which will be available to scientists across the world to help develop better treatments and diagnoses. Neil Harrison is a professor of psychiatry and neuroimaging at Cardiff University.
Similar studies have been done in a large number of people with severe mental illnesses, but really just looking at one type of data. So really this is the first study to look in great detail, not just at genetics, cognitive features, brain imaging, electrophysiological measures of brain activity, to get a much, much richer picture than any study has previously done before.
There's hope too that with better diagnoses and treatment, there will be more understanding and less stigma around serious mental illness.
We're going into the sanctuary. This is where we have an adult sanctuary every evening in Swansea.
And so what does that mean? What happens?
This is where people can come in for support for mental health crisis, social crisis at any point from 6 p.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning.
Dr Alun Thomas is the chief executive of Adferiad, a mental health and addiction charity.
Yes, we've seen an improvement in the understanding of mental health and well-being, but mental health and well-being isn't the same as somebody with a serious mental illness. And one of the challenges that we've got is that we still see sensationalist approaches to reporting of such matters. We see the consequences of a failure to provide support and treatment for individuals who've asked for help and treatment. But what happens then is they tend to get blamed for something that they've done, despite them asking for help and not receiving it on times. And I think what happens then is the public see serious mental illness as a danger, rather than seeing the danger being that we don't respond to the symptoms early enough, provide the treatment and support, because the vast majority of people with a serious mental illness are more at risk from others than others are from them.
Carina agrees and has high hopes for the study. Life expectancy for people with serious mental illness is up to 20 years less than that of the general population.
It'd be lovely in a few years' time if people with psychotic disorders had the same life expectancy as the general population. That would be amazing. Less stigma, more understanding. If you're very, very ill and distressed and you've done something, I don't think you should be blamed. And I think, if I, for example, had dementia and did those things, I'd get a lot more sympathy. If an elder person presented, for example, at a train station in distress, they'd know and they'd think, oh, this person's clearly got dementia, and they'd be really kind. If a psychotic person did, they wouldn't be. From my experience, they'd be probably shoved off, or the police might be called, rather than thinking this person isn't well, they're in distress, they need help.
Carina is now employed by a range of universities and organisations as a lived experience advisor. As someone who has lived with bipolar disorder, her experiences are invaluable. She's now looking forward to the findings of this research and what the next steps are.